So today we are going to see about just the basics of photography, and the key items that we are going to cover is basics of photography, exposure, photography ideas, and mobile photography. So photography basics. So photography is a global language. Good photo will establish a good communication with the viewer through the subject that we are actually trying to capture. And if you want to be a good photographer, then the photographer needs to understand the language well. So to be a good photographer, we'll have to focus on some key items. First is the subject. So a photograph should have at least one subject. Otherwise, it will keep that photo boring. So for the users to see. So we need to have at least one subject, or we can have multiple subjects. And the second thing is photography is basically called as painting of light. So light plays a vital role in capturing our moments. And the third item is the camera controls. And the fourth and very important one is the ideas. So idea is something that should be unique. As humans, we all see in a similar manner only. So these are the four key items that a photographer need to know. And first on subject. As I told you before, subject is a core object in the product, and we can have multiple subjects, and it's better to have at least one subject in the photograph. Otherwise, it will look boring. And second is light. Light, as I told you, it paints the photograph. There are three L's, that are responsible for good photography, and all the three L's are light. We need to have a good quantity of light, and we need to have a good quality of light, and we need to have right angle of light or different angle of light. So the combination of these three will capture a very good photo. Light is measured as exposure in photography. If we get good exposure, it's purely based upon the good light and a good quantity and quality of light and good angle. So in this particular photograph, if you can see the light that is focused at the top, and it gets focused on the key parts of the cross and of the Jesus and the cross, and that makes it more attractive. It doesn't cover any other part of the photographs, and that's how we could get this clarity and that attraction towards this particular photo. What are the different things that could happen to the exposure? There is no adequate light, then the photo will go underexposed. If you have a large amount of light, it will be overexposed. For the ideal exposure, we need to have adequate amount of light. So there are three aspects that determine the exposure in a camera. So the first one is the aperture. Second one is the shutter speed, and the third one is ISO. So what do you mean by aperture? So aperture is the opening. The amount of the aperture, determines the amount of light that pass onto the camera. And the other one is the shutter speed. So when we click on this shutter, so the amount of time it takes to capture the image is the shutter speed. And we have another thing called ISO. So during low light situation, we just make use of ISO. We can use higher ISO for dark situations. So the combination of aperture, shutter speed, and ISO constitutes exposure. If you can see the light, it comes from the top left in the photograph. And there are different kind of photographs. Like light need not to be the natural light. We can also have the indoor lighting, and the indoor lighting is best in the situation where we can define our own lighting. So we talked about shutter speed. So it's the amount of time that it takes for the shutter to. So if it is a fast shutter, this particular, we can capture the action moments. Leading lines is one kind of technique where it get the interest towards the photographs, because our human memory always likes symmetry. Expression. So for the portrait photos, expressions are the must be. Expression is pretty important. If you want to promote any emotions through the photographs, at times black and white photography will really be a handy thing. So we use a special kind of lens for this macro photography. Lens helps us to get that perception, angle, and angle of light. So this is a very small leaf. It's the magic of the macro lens. When we think of taking photographs, then we need to think of shape and form also. So if it has a symmetry, and definitely go ahead and capture it, and it could be a very good photograph. This is a chill out. We use backlight that will provide a unique output. Rule of thirds is something that should be followed to get a very good photograph. Here we have kept the fork at the right side of rule of thirds. The fork, we have placed the fork here. That will make this particular photographs really good. We can capture live moments. Shutter speed plays a vital part here. So the speed of shutter. So there is also concept photography where we can try to get some history out of the photograph, And shadow also plays a vital part because it provides different angles, different shape, the height and width vary, and that will provide a unique feel to a photograph. As I told you, focusing light is pretty important and handling light is very, very important. Wherever we have the light source, the major light source, we'll have to focus on that particular area so that you won't get noise. Same way here, this area is a major source of light. So if we focus on this particular area, we get a clear quality picture. In this particular image, we have a frame. This is an outer frame and we have an inner frame. So framing is something, that item that will help us to get a beautiful photograph. We just need to try to capture photograph at different angles. That we can also create a story, more or less related to the concept photograph that we had seen. So this particular photograph will provide some story and even related photographs. And we just need to make use of the ambience, and based on which we need to determine how we need to plan on the series of photographs that we are going to take in the event. And emotions. So here I've placed this particular high in the golden points as per the rule of thirds. So we have something called golden hour if you want to capture a good nature photo. And golden hour will be different from place to place. Based on the geolocation, golden hour will change. So you need to plan on all the things before time, and you will get awesomely great. I can even call it as divine lighting. You will get that divine lighting which you won't get it in a normal scenario. So this is the lighting, a small lighting unit that will help us in portrait photography. So this is one kind of zoom that we can use. So we can also have this zoom option. We can make it we can get it to closer to subject, and we can adjust that through this. This gives a good light even in indoor. So we can angle the light in a different manner. So since it's a soft light, we won't get the shadow, sharp shadows. Now I have another lens, called macro lens. So it can, magnify even, very, very tiny, object. We also have a small photo contest, and if you all can submit your entries, our team will evaluate that and we'll be offering prizes for that. I welcome the feedback, because it can be anything, because this is the first kind of workshop that I'm doing. I'm not sure whether I just covered it up fully, but I just share your feedback, which will really help me.